Have you ever wished you could eavesdrop on a conversation with a millionaire? My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a retired project controls engineer and business professor, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this podcast. I get to ask the questions that everyone else wishes they could. I'm going to find out exactly how they were able to build their empires through automation and outsourcing. And I'm going to break it down in a way that helps you build your business to run on autopilot. Don't miss out on Automate to Dominate. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Automate to Dominate. Today's guest is Amir Pozderac. I said I wasn't going to do that, and I did it. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. So he is the owner of the Alpha Entrepreneur and the Ripped Entrepreneur podcast. And in Amir's words, he went from a fat kid told he had zero chance in any sports to becoming a pro athlete, a three-time national champion, and Olympic Games candidate. He is now the world's #1 fitness and nutrition coach with over 700 client success stories and is a killer entrepreneur. I am so grateful to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for catching up with us, Amir.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
So can you give us a quick background about how you went from the fat kid to where you are today?
Sure. That's, the usual, I would say somewhat usual, somewhat unusual story. The usual story of a fitness coach, if you look at today, is someone was very overweight and then they tried a million diets, found one that works, and they got in shape. That's like the big picture of it. For me, it was a little different. I was in the 1991 to 1995, we had this unfortunate war in the country that I'm from, Bosnia. And basically during the war, there's no food, there's nothing to eat, and we were all starved. And then after the war, I was 13 when the war ended. And all of a sudden there's food. Oh my God, you can eat. So boy, did I eat. So within a year after that, I gained additional 100 pounds. So I was over 200 pounds at age 13. And then I figured out, hey, I fell in love with the girl and she told me I was fat. And I'm like, okay, I got to lose weight because, she's definitely going to love me if I'm not fat. So that's what sparked the journey. And actually several years after that, I spent trying every single diet under the sun. Again, this is, like mid 90s. So there's no internet, there's no books, there's no coaches, nothing there to learn how to actually do it right. So I went all the way up until age 17 or however old we are when we go to college. Basically, I went through, high school, doing all kinds of things in sports and diets and everything else. And nothing really, like I would lose 30 pounds, gain 40 back. I would lose 40, gain 45 back. So I actually ended up, at age 17, over 225. So I basically was gaining more and more weight. And like I said, okay, this just doesn't work. Whatever I do does not work. And luckily I then went to pharmacy school where I actually fell in love with science of human body, especially physiology. That was to this day is my biggest passion. And that led me to the field of nutrition. And since then, it's been almost 20 years that, after that, I've studied nutrition for now, it's almost been 2 decades. And also was silly enough to get a business degree as well, only to realize that I was born to be an entrepreneur. And actually, when I came to the US, which is in 2008, 24 years old, I realized, hey, I don't want to work for anybody. I actually had a job for like 3 months as a business manager for a pharmaceutical company, and then realized, okay, so you make X amount of money and somebody tells you what to do all day. And if you do really, really well, you make, 1% more per year. And, you just sit in a cubicle and do this, whatever. So I didn't like that. So I started my own company. At the time, it was called Executive Fitness Consulting. And that has then evolved into a business local business that took years to, become really good. And then since 2015, I developed an online version of that, which is the Alpha Entrepreneur brand that it is today. And today, we've, worked with over 700 individual clients. I have currently more than 40 clients all over the world, and things are now great. I mean, I truly enjoy what I do. I don't have a job. I have a hobby that changes people's lives and makes me happy every day. So I'm now in a really great position, but it took, depending on how you look at it, from 10 to 20 years to get here. So, yeah.
That's awesome, though. I mean, and that's everybody's story. Everybody thinks, when we have these conversations that you just woke up one morning and everything magically fell into
That's
place,
right.
right?
Yeah. Just
And
woke up and everything was there. In
yeah,
reality, yeah. Yeah. I'll say it's a great way to become an overnight expert. It usually just takes 10 to 20 years to become an overnight expert. So, you know,
that's a great
I certainly
answer.
know that was my path. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah,
So
that's kind of the big picture. Yeah.
what made you move from Bosnia to the United States?
Realization that I was born to be an entrepreneur and that I wanted things in life that the environment that I was in did not support, and that I wanted something more. And unfortunately, just like most small countries, everything there is, if 30 of us are here and one of us wants to go up, everyone's like, no, 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 you won't. Drag him down, more or less, right? When you come here, I truly feel this is the greatest country in the world, because for people who are driven and want more, I am the biggest champion of and promoter and cheerleader of entrepreneurship, of course. And that's the reason why I work only with entrepreneurs. And as far as we know now, yes, a lot of people say entrepreneurship can be taught. I don't believe so. I believe that true entrepreneurs are born. And then as we develop the skills, a lot of people may be born for entrepreneurship, but never have the courage to take that leap, and they stay employed for the rest of their lives, which is totally okay. Neither is good or bad, right? But it's essentially, it's a choice. And certainly entrepreneurial journey is like this rather than a straight line for sure. So it's, that's kind of what led me to this was passion about entrepreneurship, realizing that I am one. And then when I came here, it's basically, in this environment, I feel if you want something, everybody around you, if you're in the right environment, of course, will say, hey, look at this girl. She wants more. Let's push her up, because there's no reason not to go up. Let's go up. Let's help her. Let's support her. Let's coach her. So, that's what I truly love about the environment here. And, they say for true entrepreneurship, there's no better place than the US in the whole world. I truly believe that to be true. At least I haven't been everywhere in the world, but I have a strong feeling that's true.
Yeah. We're super lucky, people who are,
Certainly.
in the United States and Canada and Australia and England, we take for granted what we have, I think. And that's awesome that you were able to kind of break out of the mold and come here. So what made you mesh entrepreneurship and fitness? Was that just a natural pairing for you, or how'd that happen?
It totally was. It's a great question. I spent many, many years here, at least like 6 to 7 years to be exact, trying different businesses, because my identity was always I'm an entrepreneur. And within that, you can be an entrepreneur in anything. Like you can run a business that, makes burgers or cars or sells planes or whatever it is. And I tried all kinds of businesses, and every single one of them failed. At least 10 different businesses. I love cars. I'm a car guy. So I had a car dealership, selling used cars, selling this, selling car parts. I was trying to start restaurants and all these things. And then finally I realized, what is the one thing that's my true biggest passion in life? And that is absolutely fitness and nutrition. That is my, and by the way, how I came up with that is, what is the one, the question is, what's the one topic that when you hang out with 5 of your friends, you can't shut up about? You continuously talk about it. And everybody who knows me, dude, health and nutrition, getting people in shape, that's it. I can't stop talking about it. Then I realized, in my free time, I read research studies related to health and nutrition and building muscle and getting in great shape. So that is, and I'm actually educated in that. And I spent all these years, 6 years in pharmacy school, and everything after that, really, this is my biggest passion. So I basically figured out my mission and purpose in life is to teach fitness and health to entrepreneurs. That's it. That's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. However long I live, I'm 36 now. That's what I'm going to be doing for until my last final day.
That's awesome. And it's so cool that you were able to find, your superpower and mesh it with your entrepreneurial, makeup, right? Because it's like, like you said, it's like in our genes, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Took many years to get there to, finally define it in one sentence. Teach health and fitness to entrepreneurs. It took many years to get there. But now when I look back, it was so obvious. It was like poking me in the eye all those years. But, the problem is shiny object syndrome. Oh, I could do this, I could do that. The problem is, as entrepreneurs, we're very resourceful and we find ways. Like I look around and I see opportunity everywhere. Like every single day, 100 times I tell myself, nope, 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 stay the path, stay the path, stay the path. I could start a supplement company. I could go into real estate. I could do this. I could do, like, there's so many things that we could do and probably do well in. But the point is, it's distracting you from the real path. So, just like an average person has a issue of figuring out what they want to do or what they're good at, we have the opposite, which is so many things we could do. We have to stay the path, right? The focus is truly,
and so
many, where it's at. Super powerful.
So many entrepreneurs usually see, like, the big picture, and they see what's possible, and we see systems, right? And we see what's possible. How do you rein yourself in from shiny object syndrome?
Great question. In two ways. One, I have programmed myself until now to, every time when I think about something, basically use the NLP technique: cancel, and reframe. Like, tell yourself literally, cancel, stop that, and reframe to that what you're thinking. How does that apply to my current business to push it forward? That's one. Number two is my mentors and coaches who slap me virtually when I say, hey, I have this awesome idea. Let me tell you, we're going to do this. Like, okay, Amir, okay, virtual slap, back to the path. So that's how. So I have people keeping me accountable, calling me out when I need to be called out, which is often. And, so first is my own, inner game. And the second one is I actually have external support, so which I believe is absolutely monumental. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you came here, I am guessing, you didn't have $1 million sitting in the bank, right?
I have exactly 111.
What? $111?
$111 in my pocket. Yep. Yeah. Yes.
So that's like the ultimate, like, bootstrapping entrepreneur, right? Tell me the story behind the grit and the drive, and how in the world did you become such a huge success?
Well,
starting with $111.
How we, well, basically, I would say pretty much just like everybody else who started from nothing, meaning anybody who's self-made. I first got a job, which was, so when I came here, they said, okay, my degrees and all this is not, my business degree is actually from here, but I took that later. So before you get the green card and like all these things, I could get one of these odd jobs, right? So like drive a truck or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I can go and work as a trainer in a fitness health club. And I did that. And I worked there for like 2 months. And because this is whole different world and economic situation, everything else than where I came from, it kind of opened my eyes to, I remember one of my clients that I had at the time was like this fancy club. And he was very independently wealthy, retired. So I asked him, hey, you know what? Can I ask you a question? He's like, sure. I'm working in this club from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. And I make, I don't know what it was at the time, like $1,600 a month, okay? Which is what an average personal trainer makes, by the way, $37,000 a year or less. And I asked him, so how is it theoretically possible to make $100,000 a year? Like, how's that? Like, just tell me the theory. Like, you don't have to tell me practically because I don't believe that's possible anyway. But how is that theoretically possible? And this guy's, multimillionaire, looks at me and says, okay, child, we need to have a conversation. Let's talk. So that was the gentleman who basically started my quest for what Charlie Munger calls, Charlie Munger, I don't know if you're familiar, he's the right-hand man of Warren Buffett. So he says, basically, the goal every day should be to become less clueless every day. When we're born as a little baby, we're in Latin tabula rasa, which means an empty board. We don't know anything about anything. So the key is every day, learn so you can become less clueless every day. I was completely clueless at the time. I am still today, but a little less so. So he said, okay, here's a book that you need to start. So he gave me a book titled The Best Damn Sales Book Ever. That's the book. And he gave me this, says, okay, read this as a Bible And then here's another book, and he gave me Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So this guy, and this is 2008, that was what sparked my journey to learn and read and never end for as long as you live, to become less clueless every day. That's really what got me on the path, and I truly give him all the credit for starting the journey. The spark was probably in me already, but he totally started it. Like, he unleashed it by that book, because I read that book and I'm like, wow, look, there's so much of these things that we don't know that we totally can. And then I realized the successful, wealthy, people who are making it in life are doing different things than I was doing. I'm like, so if I do the things that they do, I'll probably get a better result. And that is ultimately true, because if we dumb it down fully, that is what it is. All right. So someone who is in great shape most certainly thinks and therefore acts someone who is not in great shape, right? Than someone who's not in great shape. They do different things. Same exact thing is for people who are broke versus people who are wealthy, people who are miserable versus people who are happy, et cetera, et cetera. So long answer to your short question. I tried many different things, failed a gazillion times, again and again and again, and kept going and never stopped and never quit. And I will never quit. I will stop when I'm dead. Basically, that's the only way. And that's like I wish there was some kind of shortcut or magic. Well, actually, there is a shortcut. The real shortcut is hire or find mentors and coaches who've been where you want to go. Do anything you need to do to pay them, ideally, because commitment follows investment. So when you pay them, you're going to get so much more out of it, and they will be usually much more committed to getting you there. So basically, coaching. I am a coach, and I am the biggest proponent of coaching, which is why I have coaches that I pay a lot of money, because that is the one true shortcut. Assuming that one already has the drive and is ready to take action, the one true shortcut, the only one that I know, is actually surround yourself with people who are where you want to go. That's basically it. Because that osmosis part is, they say, if you want to be in great shape, hang out with people who are in great shape. If you want to be homeless, go hang out with a bunch of homeless people, and very soon you'll think that that's the norm. That's what you should do too. So the whole old idea, you are the middle of the 5 people you hang out with, middle of their income, middle of their health, middle of their happiness level, middle of their everything. You truly are, or the average of all that. And that's basically the secret, right? There is no secret. The secret is there is no secret, right? Other than the true shortcut is get coaches and mentors and people who can help you save so many years, truly, of wasted effort, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you that was a huge eye-opening thing for me when I finally wrote the check that I thought there was no way I could afford to write the check for coaching. That was when I started to see the difference. And,
right. And by the way, why is that? Why is that?
Oh, because you have to put your money where your mouth is all of a sudden.
Damn right, because you actually have to take action. Absolutely, which is the reason, and you won't be surprised. So I talk to, let's say, 2 to 5 people every day. So I have sales calls with people who are reaching out and saying, hey, I'm not in shape. I want to be in shape. And between the people who, let's say, pay lower price versus people who pay the highest price, guess who gets the best results?
The higher price.
Absolutely, because they're invested more and they do more. So the program is the same. Here's the A to Z program. In one is going to be one-on-one. In the other is going to be group coaching. In a group coaching that costs a little less, people are like, yeah, maybe I'm going to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So, commitment absolutely follows investment. And I always say the investment that scares you is the one that is the highest to actually work, because you are the highest, you have the highest chance of actually taking action. And of course, action equals results. And, I always say you either succeed or learn. When you take action, you either succeed or learn. The only true failure is inaction. That's it.
And that's such a huge point, right? There, it's taking imperfect action. Don't be afraid to fail, right? Because you didn't fail. You learned something. You learned a way not to do it, right? What did Thomas Edison said? He figured out 2,500 ways not to create the light bulb, right?
That's correct.
I think I actually read his one of his quotes yesterday that I love, and he said, most people miss success because it's dressed in overalls and looks like hard work. Right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And I would say one thing is, especially for us entrepreneurs, I feel like most of us, I know I certainly did, spend too many years to come to basic conclusions, like the fundamental conclusions. And this is one of them, or realizations, epiphanies, if you will. One of them is that failures are not, so, for example, you said we shouldn't be afraid of failure. We absolutely shouldn't, but we should reframe that as not only that we shouldn't be afraid, we should look for it, we should expect it. When you know that the most successful people in the world try 10 things and maybe one of them works and 9 do not. So people who are already successful fail 9 out of 10 times, let's say 8 out of 10 times. That means not only that we shouldn't be afraid of it, we should look for failure as a indication that you're doing good work, that you're actually on path. You're on the right path if you're failing. If you're not failing, you're probably just not doing anything. And then you're not on the right path. You're wasting your most precious, most valuable resource, which is time, which we can never get more of. Can you and I make $1 million tomorrow? Yes. Can we be 1 minute younger? We cannot. So time is the most precious resource. So if I look at failure as an indication that we're on the path, we're doing great, we're doing well. If there's no failure, oh, okay, we're holding back, we're playing it safe, we're in the comfort zone, which means no growth. And no growth means because we know that the world is going forward. So if you're not growing, you're definitely going back. Right? So we're being left behind. So you're either growing or being left behind, and the indication for growth is failure. So, I look at it as a positive indicator that you're going where you're supposed to go. So.
Yep, it's absolutely the case. Like a previous mentor that I had, she used to say, take massive imperfect action and then go back and reevaluate what worked and what didn't.
Absolutely.
But if you sit and you're just stuck, you're never going to get anywhere.
That's right. And that's the story, part of the story that goes into perfectionism and procrastination, which are the brother and sister. They always go together. Perfectionism is, my mom is a perfectionist, and I was, because of that, a perfectionist. And I used to be proud. So, I'm a perfectionist, like it's a good thing. Perfectionism is a disease. It's essentially a mental disease, not like an actual, disease that you're, officially diagnosed for, but it's truly a disease of the mind where perfectionism is simply an extreme level of fear of failure. That's all there is. You're so afraid that you're going to fail that you say, you know what, I'm going to procrastinate so much that I actually don't do anything, so that I can say, I failed. I can say I haven't even tried, so there's not even a chance of success or failure. You're basically keeping yourself away from, even trying. And that is literally the worst. I mean, I can't figure out a worse thing to do if you're trying to go somewhere, right? Like actually achieve something and move this world forward. That's why I always say, I studied psychology for the last 12 years, because I realized when I start talking about these things to my clients, their lives change in a way that they're actually following the program and they keep the weight off. If I give you the greatest program ever, like here's the customized meal plan, here's the training program, here's everything you need, and you actually do that and get in great shape, but we don't change this here, your identity that says that that person is an overweight person, they just regain the weight quickly. And after, that happened enough times, I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on here. Let's see. And that's where I figured that you can never outgrow, out-earn, or out anything your current identity, right? So if you think you're a person that makes 10K a month, you'll never make 20. And even if you accidentally make 20, you're going to find a way quickly to burn that off and or have some loss somewhere, so that it quickly goes back to what your identity determines that you should be at. And this is absolutely universally true in happiness level, relationships, and finances too, right? So identity needs to be evolved to the next level in order for it to be sustainable. And this is really where I spend most of my time coaching clients, because I say, hey, getting anybody in shape is based on laws of physiology, and science has reverse engineered that to the point where, I can literally say, if I customize a diet and training program for someone, and then getting, let's say, ripped, having 8-pack or 6-pack and all that, that is so given, like it's going to be a new day tomorrow. This is what it's going to be. But you will not be able to keep it off if we don't do the mental stuff, right? And most people are, unfortunately, most coaches and fitness experts are stuck in what diet, should you be on keto diet or fasting or this other stupid fad. Over here in my world, I say, okay, the first time we talk, let's talk about your identity. Let's talk about your beliefs. Let's talk about your models of the world, of yourself. How do you see yourself? How do you see the world? And people are like, what is this coach talking about? What the hell? Believes the models? How about you give me the right diet? And I say, yeah, I'm going to give you the right diet, but that is irrelevant because long term, it doesn't change anything. So
Yeah, and I think, I didn't plan on going down this road, but this is like such good stuff. Like I totally want to dive in a little more. It's so, it's, you are your own self-fulfilling prophecy without even realizing it, right?
absolutely.
If you, like favorite, one of my favorite books is The Secret Thoughts of Successful Women. And it's basically about the exact opposite of what you would think. It's about how women who are successful actually end up self-sabotaging themselves because they think, oh, I'm not good enough, or somebody's going to figure out that me making that $20,000 that one month was just a mistake and it won't happen again. And until you break through that mindset, it doesn't matter how many systems you have in place. It doesn't matter how many passive income streams you have in place. You're going to be stuck where you are until you break through that. And as so many people think, oh yeah, right, that's a bunch of whole, I won't say that, but that's a bunch of, crap, and it's not gonna, but it's so true. And it, like, time and time and time and time again, you study successful entrepreneurs and the millionaires and the billionaires, and it's like a pattern, just like you creating for your clients to lose weight. The exact same pattern happens on the entrepreneurial path too. Can you dive in a little bit more and tell us more about that?
Absolutely, I'd love to. I actually just had a coaching call earlier this morning with a client, and we had a long discussion about this because he's 27 years old, so life is ahead of him. I'm so excited when someone is 27 years old and invests in coaches like me and coaches that are business coaches, mindset coaches. I know that person's going places, and I always take as much time as I need to and as I can to talk about this, because it's truly, this is where it's at. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is what determines where someone gets to. And so in short, we have this, so our personality is made out of three things: self-confidence, which is your faith in your ability to accomplish a certain goal. That's the confidence. How do we train confidence? By basically practice. You get better at it. Oh, I actually am kind of good at it. Okay. And then that's basically confidence. Second one is self-esteem, which is determined by two things: how much you have faith that you can handle the challenges of life. That's one. And the second part is how much you think you're deserving of love. Those are the two things that determine self-esteem, which, by the way, the part that you mentioned, the imposter syndrome, that has to do with that, right? Our self-esteem is low, and unfortunately, parents with low self-esteem cannot grow a child or raise a child that has a higher self-esteem than they do, which unfortunately tells you that when you have basically everybody, we are a society that like everybody has low self-esteem. Like literally by definition, I don't think there's like 1 in 10,000 people that has moderate self-esteem. And now, but the good thing is when we know what it is, we can read the books, realize that the process, and then do the process to actually, and again, how do I know? Because I had extremely low self-esteem. In 2008, I met my first mentor when I came here, and he said, "Young man, you are 24. I'm like, "Yeah, you seem like you're driven and want to do things." I'm like, "Yes, I'm going to do this." It's like, "Okay, so why? What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I want to be a millionaire." He says, "That's awesome. So why do you want to be a millionaire?" I'm like, "Nobody's ever asked me that question. What kind of question is that? I just want millions." Like, "That's cool, but why?" And I thought about it. I'm like, "Oh, well, I can then buy a big house and 3 cars." He says, "Okay, so why do you want to buy a big house and 3 cars?" And after thinking about it, I figured out to impress my mom. Basically, that's it. So I want to do all these things so to impress either mom, dad, somebody. So which means it has nothing to do with you. You're doing that to impress someone. And it's usually parents because they are the highest authority. That is the number one indication of self-esteem, low self-esteem. Because you shouldn't be wanting to build a business or get in shape or be happy or do anything so that someone else can think highly of you. You should think highly of yourself and believe that you're worthy of love and that you're worthy of achievement and money and anything else just intrinsically. But we don't do that normally. So that's the self-esteem part. And then over here in my world, which is what I do now, right, as a fitness and nutrition coach, The third part is self-image. So I would say to everybody listening to this podcast, buy a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Read it once every month, at least 3 years straight. You should read this book 30 times. And if anything, if there's a book other than Think and Grow Rich that will change your life, this is the book. Every client that I get, I send them this book and say, this is mandatory read. If you don't read this book, we can't work together. Sorry, but it's not going to work. So it's a self-image Bible, essentially. And it's based on the same principle, which is the identity, which over time, over the years, the inputs that we get from our environment grow into or evolve into our current identity. And we have identity for 3 biggest areas of life, which are health, relationship, finances, right? In that priority order. So for health, let's say, let me give you a practical real world example. So I was a fat kid for 6-7 years, and my identity was, I'm a fat kid. So once I went to pharmacy school, learned the science, lost weight, got in great shape, and became this superstar back in Bosnia, like a model athlete and blah, blah. So what happened was, at the end, I was really having, I was on news and TV stations talking about, oh, this is how great, and these people say, look at him. And I was thinking, I don't understand genuinely how these people don't see that I'm just a fat kid. I don't know how I'm faking it that well, but these people don't see. They're asking me about how did I get in great shape? And I'm like, don't you realize I'm just a fat kid? That was my identity at the time. Or let me give you another example. So yesterday I had one of the calls that I had with a gentleman. And the first thing he said when I said, so we started a conversation, I said, okay, so tell me where you're at. Where's your weight, health? How do you look at, where are you? Right. So just give me a brief or a long story, however you want. The first thing he said, the first sentence was, I was fat my whole life. No, I've been fat my whole life. What do you think that gentleman's identity is? That's the identity. So I told him, and our conversation, instead of, hey, here's how I can help you, eat this much and lose this, our conversation became, okay, let's talk about this identity thing. And I'm shipping him that book today because I buy, 30 copies at a time because I constantly ship them. So this is it, right? The identity determines. So, and then the good thing is we have reverse engineered, science has reverse engineered this identity building process. So the identity that you have right now, what is it? It's, or rather, how did we get to it? Inputs for the last years and decades, every day, usually stem from something that happened when you were little, a small child. So this gentleman that I talked to yesterday says, to not reveal any, personal details, when he was very young, one of his parents said, oh, look at your gut. When he was a very young boy, laughed and made fun of his gut, thinking that it's probably funny. In that individual's brain said, the ultimate authority in my life, my parent, says I have a gut. That became the identity. 40 years later, that person has a gut and is very overweight. That's what identity was for 40 years. And I said, you know what? To change your identity, because for 40 years, he's been doing things subconsciously that get him to be overweight, subconsciously. And then he looks in the mirror and says, you see, my identity is right. See what I see? Gut? That's totally true. So I told him, if I give you the customized diet and training program, sleep, and create a full system for you, you just follow it, you'll absolutely get absolutely phenomenal shape. I also guarantee you that you will not keep it off. You will immediately get it back unless we change this. Because if your identity 3 months from today is, I've always been fat, and that stays your identity, you will not change it. It will not stay. And by the way, this is the reason why most people say, lost weight, gain it back. Lost weight, gain it back. And if you look at the stats of how many people lose weight and keep it off, less than 1%. And probably real world, probably even less than that, right? Because so much goes into it mentally that people never get with regular diets, right? So you go Google, what's the popular diet in March 2020? Keto. Okay, carbs are horrible. They kill you. You should totally be on keto. By the way, that's a joke. That's a sarcasm. I always make fun of fads and, keto and fasting and veganism and all these fad diets. But what I'm saying is a person doesn't know any better. Google's says, here's the keto diet. And they start the keto diet, but they don't know any of this stuff, right? Here, what's going on, this is the software, this is the hardware, right? So this runs the computer. This is the
Yep.
software that is infinitely more powerful. So that's long and short of, and now we know the process of changing that. Again, I don't like the word changing the identity because it implies that your current identity is like bad. It's not. It's just what it is. It isn't good or bad. It's just, it is what it is. But we can say my current identity is leading to the outcome or future that I dislike, which is staying overweight. So I always say we want to evolve your identity to the next level, right? And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, Amir, like that's totally me. Like you're speaking right to me.
Mm-hmm.
What are, besides getting psycho-cybernetics, right?
Yeah.
What are some tips and things that they can do to start today to start changing
Great question.
That frame of mind?
Great question. I love the practical application of theory. Theory is awesome, but is nothing without practical application. Just like knowledge is power. Knowledge is potential power. Knowledge put to action is actual power. So here's how to practically evolve one's identity. 2 steps. Every morning, you start the morning with a 5-minute journal. And again, this can be a personal journal. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes. It can be 3 minutes, 10, whatever you want. Personal journal. I suggest putting in this journal the number 1, 3 things you're grateful for. Then your 3 highly prioritized to-do list, right? What are the 3 things that would make today great? And by the way, I totally got this from Tim Ferriss and his 5-minute journal. He got that from somewhere, I don't know. I have a version of that, but that's totally a foundation for this. So first you start your day with gratitude. That changes everything. If you just look right now, so we are in this virus outbreak, people are going crazy, apocalypse, we're all gonna be dead in 10 days. That's what the media wants you to believe. Absolutely incorrect. We will not all be dead. Yes, it's a real thing, but it's not gonna be nearly as bad as what media would like you to believe. So actually, after we're done today, I'm gonna go write a long post about the virus update and exactly what to do about it, because this fear mongering is just ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. Like people literally think 11 days from now, we're all gone. Like game over, apocalypse is here, which is ridiculous. But anyway, so that's the one thing. Have a morning journal, put gratitude first, start every day with gratitude. There's so many things to be grateful for. We literally live in the greatest time in history of humankind. We have more resources, opportunities, and abundance of everything than ruler of the world had 200 years ago, like literally. Just think about this, think what we're doing now. I'm here in my office on a Wi-Fi, and we can have this conversation 1,000 miles away, 100 miles away. And I just, this morning had conversations with one client from India, one from Europe, one from the US. So just think about it. While I'm walking around, getting my steps in, talking on the phone, with internet, it's just amazing what we have. So that's the number 1 thing, the journal. Start with gratitude, highly prioritized to-do list, long-term and short-term goals. So that's the number 1. Number 2 step is create a personal manifesto. This is the thing that is probably going to change your life more than anything, and is the way, the process, the system to use to evolve your identity. What is your personal manifesto? You write down your version, of your ideal life 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years, you choose the deadline, whatever that is. So if everything you want went exactly 100% the way you want it, everything went perfectly, like exactly the same thing you want happened, even better. And it went like that for 5 years. What would your life be 5 years from today, 3 years, whatever that is, but let's say 5 years. And you write that down as if it's personal, meaning right now you, positive, and present. So you write that down. Those are the 3 P's, right? Personal, positive, present. You can't say, my spouse is not bothering me with, you can't do it for someone else. Do it for you. So personal. It's got to be present, meaning right now. So you don't say one day, 10 years from now, I'll be in great shape. 10 years, right now. Because your identity only knows now. It doesn't know future. It doesn't understand it. So personal, present, and positive, right? So don't say, I'm not fat, I'm not broke, because those are negative things. Whatever you focus on grows in your experience. So make it a positive thing. So when you write this down, for me, it's like 6 pages of Amir's personal manifesto. You read that every morning, and ideally every night too, because your subconscious is the most susceptible to inputs before you go to bed. You know how these, for example, you mentioned Thomas Edison. he was solving problems. He has a problem that he can't solve. He takes all the information data that he knows about it, so all the facts, reads them, and goes to sleep. Wakes up in the morning with the solution, because subconscious is infinitely more powerful than our conscious mind. And yes, you're totally right. Some people think all of this stuff is woo-woo. Oh, you know, I'm very spiritual. I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. And I truly believe, not only that I believe, I can tell you that I've seen this so many times with not just me, but with my clients, that it's not like believe. I know this to be true. Like, you know, they say when you have this belief that has gone beyond just, oh, I believe it works, may not work. No, I know this works. Literally, I've seen it so many times that there's no way it doesn't. So create your personal manifesto, personal journal every day, write it. And then the second step is create your personal manifesto and read it every morning. As you read it every morning, so for example, let's say someone is overweight and they write in their personal manifesto, let's say it's a guy, right? And he says, I have six-pack abs, I am ripped, I'm bursting of energy, I can't look better, I look amazing. Let's say it's a woman. She says, I have lean thighs. Like, describe in more detail, as many details as you can, how you look and feel when it comes to your health. What amount of money are you making? Who are the clients that you're working with? What is your business setup right now? How? Describe it in detail. And as you're reading this every morning, input goes in and says, I'm a lean person. I'm a lean person. I'm a person who makes $100,000 a month. And as you do that enough times, your identity becomes, yeah, I make $100,000 a month. And at the moment when they match, when what you're reading there matches your full belief, you will wake up and all of that will be around you. You won't even notice that over time you evolved to that level. And by the way, I've done this several times, like complete changes, went from almost broke to, you know, six-figure business and this. And by the end of this year, we will cross 100K a month. You know, so going into that seven-figure territory, all of this stuff is no coincidence. I have engineered this for many, 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 many years. And now when I look at it, you know, so part of my personal manifesto is vision board. So things that you want. And I had a specific car there for 2 years. Once I finally bought the car, I was like, hey, I drove this car in my mind 200 times before I actually had it. So when I bought it, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course, because I'm the person who has that car. I'm the person who makes this much money. I'm the person who is in this shape, et cetera, et cetera. So your identity truly.
We got to know. What's the car?
M3. I'm a Beamer guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
But
no, that's basically the big story, or rather big, long answer to a simple question. That's the path. That's literally, if I'd known what I just told you 10 years ago, you know, they say, oh, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but this is truly it. This is the path to, like, changing your body to anything you want, changing and growing your business to anything you want, changing your happiness level and relationships level to anything you want. This is the path.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so true. Like a friend of mine, Greg Jeffries, he had a post yesterday that I just read, and he wrote himself a check like 5 years ago for $100,000. And at the time, like, he thought $100,000 was like a lot of money, right? And he thought he'd, you know, never, you know, be able to like cash a check for $100,000. And now, 5 years later, like, he makes that in a day. You know, and he looked back and he was laughing because he's like, had I not put that as a target, like, he actually like wrote a check and carried it in his wallet and pulled it out every day, and, you know, said, I'm going to cash this check. I'm going to cash this check. And, you know, it's now, you know, he could cash that check every day if he wanted.
That's right. And that's, so let's say if he heard this talk, he'd be like, even if he didn't, like, let's say connect all of these dots, he'd be like, that's exactly it. Like, that is the process I went through. And that is, you know, that actually reminded me of the actor's name, Jim Carrey. So he said that he wrote himself, I don't know what it was, like 2 million or 10 mil, whatever, check on that, like when he was completely broke. And very few years after that, like only a couple of years after that, he got paid, let's say that's $10 million for some movie, you know, to be a main actor. He was paid that. And it was the exact same. And it truly, I believe in law of attraction with one caveat, which is massive action. I don't believe in just sitting and saying, okay, money falls from the sky. People who don't even know about me just come out of nowhere and say, hey, you're this awesome coach, let me give you some money. No, I don't believe in that. I believe in setting the goal, seeing it happen, and then backing it up with extreme high amounts of action and not being impatient, like actually being patient, because it was not going to happen. And again, they say, I love Peter Thiel. I don't know if you're familiar with, he's the guy.
Yes, very familiar with Peter Thiel. He's
so
awesome.
He's a phenomenal, that's right. So there's a phenomenal book called 0 to 1. And in the book, he says, figure out what your 10-year goal is, write it down, and then ask yourself, how can I do this in 6 months? Because you absolutely can. You see, that type of thinking is where it truly changes everything, right? Figure out what the 10-year goal is, and then ask yourself, how do we do this in 6 months, right? Because in this day and age, we truly can, right? So that is pretty phenomenal, even though I would say for most entrepreneurs that I know, our goals take longer than we plan. But again, if you think about the old washed out phase, they enjoyed the journey. If you truly think about it that way, it doesn't really matter how long it takes to get to the goal, right? So let's say, is my business going to cross 100K a month, in 3 months or in 6 months or 2 years? Doesn't really matter much. I don't need that money to whatever. I already have enough. It's just a goal, because I look at it as the more entrepreneurs I help, the side effect of that is we actually make more money, which is great. I'll take the money, but I don't need it. But the point is we actually help more. So this year in 2020, my company and my coaching is going to transform 200 entrepreneurs. We're going to have 200 testimonials by the end of this year. And we are now actually ahead of pace a little bit, which is awesome so far. But I look at it and say, why only 200? Why not 2,000? Why am I being so selfish and saying, hey, there's dozens of thousands of entrepreneurs out there who kicking ass and changing this world for the better, who are overweight and struggling with their weight? Why would I limit the extent to our contribution to only 200? I shouldn't be that selfish. I should actually say we should, change 2,000 and 5,000, etc. So truly, it is about the journey, and I'm a big fan of Jay Abraham. He says the most. How did he say it? Actually, he's the only guy who can formalize something like this and kind of define it. He says the most self-serving thing you can ever do is to be selfless, which means you have to go against your brain, and our brain is wired to just be me, 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 me. And then when we have children, that's the only time when it changes. Now I have my little boy is going to be a year old this coming weekend, March 15th, in 3 days.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that has absolutely changed everything. We are programmed and wired to, hey, my survival comes first. So it's all about me. And then when we have children, then we realize it's not about me, it's about him first, or her if it's a daughter, then me. But in business world, when I applied this rule, the most self-serving thing I can do is actually see what's best for them first. That truly changed it all for me. Like, business exploded when I get on the phone with someone and say, I truly could care less whether you pay me or not. Money is great, but I don't need it. Let me actually see if I can truly help you. And if I don't think we're a match, you will not be enrolled. You can do whatever you want. It's not the match. It's not going to work. So, and at the end of the day, I believe that most of the entrepreneurs who have succeeded at a great level, whether or not they formalize it this way, whether or not they realize it, I'm sure they do. They all do this exact same thing. Like, do you think Steve Jobs sat back and said, how do I make another billion? No, let me have another, he could care less about billions of dollars. He truly said, we're going to change this world. Or Elon Musk, do you think he sits today and says, man, I don't have enough billions, I think I should make another $1 billion? No, he's like, I'm going to change this world by having electric cars that truly are better in every possible way. And that's what he's doing. So
yeah, and isn't it amazing,
not being motivated by that? Yeah.
That when you look at, people who we would quote unquote say are like, the superpowers, the super successful, it's never about the money, ever.
That's
if
right.
you
That's
look
right.
at all of them, I think one of the best ways that I ever learned that was Bob Burg's book, The Go-Giver. Have you heard of that?
I have.
Yeah.
I've read the book. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
The book is basically what you just said. It's all about how do I do what's best for the other person. And it's just amazing how it naturally just multiplies everywhere and like
Yeah.
turns into this unstoppable force, because you're not focused on yourself.
Absolutely. And that is, you see, one of the things that I'm going to teach my child is everybody, I'm going to tell him, everybody, including you and me and your mom and everybody else, we are wired to be all about me, 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 me. The sooner I can pass on to him that it's not about me or him in this case, that you, and again, he's going to need to be older to understand it and all this, but imagine if you and I knew and truly deeply understood that when we were 20 years old. Do you think you and I would be at a different place today? Oh,
Sure.
certainly. And
Yeah.
of course, I mean, there's no way we wouldn't. And the good thing is we can actually pass it on to, in this case, everybody listening to this podcast, right? And that's
Yeah.
number one. We can pass it on to our children. I pass it on to my clients, even though most of them are older than me. It doesn't matter because, I really like to go deep into these things and figure out, actually, as I mentioned earlier, human physiology is my greatest passion. And physiology is very logical. I'm a logical type of person. And physiology just asked two questions. My first mentor was my physiology professor from pharmacy school. He said, everything in a human body you can understand by asking two questions: how or why. Okay, liver does this. How does the liver do that? This and this and this. Here's how. Why does it do that? Here's why. These are the two questions. They're probably the two most powerful questions you can use in your whole life. So your son comes and says, oh, that girl doesn't like me, and I feel so ashamed, or I feel so angry, or, they have a problem in anything. Ask why and how. These are the most powerful two questions, because if you ask someone, okay, you've tried 1,700 diets so far and none of them has worked. Why do you think that hasn't worked? And they say, oh, well, because of this and this and this, so, okay, so why, how, and you will get to the end of it, right? So I always ask, so for example, when I figured out in 2008, oh, I have low self-esteem, right? Oh, go figure. And I was like, why do I have low self-esteem? Well, let me research this self-esteem thing so I can figure it out. Okay, once you figure out what it is and why you have it low, okay, then the magic question is, how do I raise it, right? And this is basically the formula: why and how, and you go deep, deep, deep. And I love to go deep because I want to understand the basis of it, right? And that's why I always say weight loss is 50% psychology, 50% math, which means calories. And the more overweight someone is, and the longer they have been overweight, the bigger this psychology chunk is. For someone who is, let's say, very overweight or obese, 95.5 psychology math, because technically, theoretically speaking, the more overweight someone is, the easier it is for them to lose weight because there's more to lose. Yet, if you look at the stats, that's the group of people who have the lowest success rate of them all. Why? Because of this, because this determines everything else. So easy to say, hey, just eat meats and vegetables. That's it. Like, truly, eat meats and vegetables, you're going to lose all the weight you want. That's as simple as that. But if it was that simple, would we have 8 out of 10 people overweight and 4 out of 10 obese? No, right? Because this is preventing.
I was going to say, that doesn't solve my emotional need to sit down with Ben and Jerry's in front of the TV because I'm sulking.
Of course, because it was that simple. No need for fitness coaches, no need for diets, no need for anything. Just eat meats and vegetables. And truly, if you would just eat meats and vegetables, you would lose all the weight you want, be in great shape, no diseases, nothing, right? But the environment and our brain wiring are truly designed and set up for the time that does not exist anymore. We are wired mentally and physically to live in the jungle, meaning outside, right, in the woods where there's no food. So you and I are hanging out in the jungle. Hey, what do we eat? We have to catch an animal. So whether we can or not depends whether we eat or not. And or we need to walk for hours to find maybe some seasonal fruit and veggies. That's it. There's no Ben and Jerry's. There's no go to first grocery store and for $5 you can buy 10,000 calories of junk food, right? So, and we're wired to eat. Wired because it's survival, right? If we don't eat, we die. So we have to eat. So we are both brain and body-wise totally designed and wired for the time that doesn't exist. And this mismatch between what we're wired for and our current environment is the main reason. It's the biggest driver of the health, overweight, and all the other problems we're having. And unfortunately, looking at the numbers are just getting worse every year. Like, despite the biggest, of course, weight loss is a multi trillion-dollar industry if you look at supplements, everything else. So, I'm a biggest fan of Dan Kennedy. And one of my legacies is going to be Dan Kennedy of fitness. That's what I want to be known for. I'm a Dan Kennedy of fitness, which means no BS. He actually has I'm sure you're familiar with the whole no BS, marketing for this, no BS. I'm going to have no BS weight loss for entrepreneurs. That's my next book, by the way. No BS, muscle building for entrepreneurs, et cetera, et cetera. But he always says, look at what Dan Kennedy says, look at what everybody's doing and do the opposite. Majority is always wrong. And if you look at an average adult in 3 areas, health, relationship, finances, yeah, don't do. An average adult is overweight, broke, and miserable. More or less, right? Okay, now we can debate that, whatever. But if you look at it, that's how it is. So look at what everybody's doing, do the opposite. Right? You're probably going to do way better than just, just look around what everybody's doing and do that. You're going to get what everybody's getting. So, it is luckily our choice.
And to just kind of bring it full circle, I mean, from you as that, 24-year-old kid, had you not, that was working in the gym, right? Mm-hmm. Making, what was it, $37,000 a year, right?
$1,600 a month.
Yeah.
So whatever that is. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, had you not spent the time in training your mind, right, you'd still be at the gym.
Absolutely.
Working 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Definitely.
Right?
And I would still think that making $100,000 a year is this, imaginary fairy tale only reserved for, for aliens or people who are lucky or born under, lucky star or inherited or whatever. Total. I mean, it is. And that's why I say, actually the conversation I had with the 27-year-old client of mine from India, it excites me to tell these things to a 27-year-old. Because at 20, and again, I'm 36, so I have time to do everything. And he's 27, so I'm like, you have a decade to get to where I am at. There's nothing that you can't achieve 10 years from now. Like literally, I told him, if you set a goal of being a billionaire, you can be that 10 years from now. Body-wise, I mean, it's not even, it's not even necessary to talk about. Like he can transform, and he will be because he's a client. So he will be transformed in 3 to 6 months from today. And most importantly, will evolve his identity so that it will stay, right? But I always say, in this day and age, there is no excuse to be broke. There's no excuse to be overweight. There's no excuse to be miserable. The solutions are out there. You just have to, and, I would say, especially when it comes to this, losing weight and getting in shape and handling your health, that part of the game. The biggest problem someone has is, navigating through all the BS and figuring out what's the actual truth. Because truly, I'm known as making fun of the fitness experts who don't know their arm from their leg. You have the keto coach that puts everybody on low carb. You have the fasting coach that everybody's fasting. You have the vegan that thinks that, you eat a little meat and you die. So all these confused people who are genuinely clueless, meaning, and I don't say that in any arrogant way, I say genuinely they, haven't spent the time. Like if anybody spent the amount of time that I've spent, maybe they would know more than me and be better than me in coaching. Maybe they would. So it's nothing special about me. It's just I spent 20 years studying day and night to figure out the basics, and it took me 10 years. So I'm not blaming anybody or saying, oh, they're whatever. No, maybe they just haven't gone through that process. But the problem is, if you have a fasting coach who thinks that everybody should fasting, obviously, right? And how do these coaches come up with whatever the system is? How? They tried 10 things, 20, 50. One of them just happens to match with their lifestyle, genes, preferences, activity, whatever. And that one thing worked. And because that person is the center of the universe, obviously, right? We all think we're the center of the universe. It worked for me, therefore, it's got to work for everybody. Now, let me teach you all to be a keto coach, to be on keto diet. So for me, after I spent years and years and years, I realized if I was a keto coach, let's say if the success rate of keto diet is 5%, that means out of 100 clients that I get, 5 get results and 95 don't. What kind of coach would I be? Same thing for every other mass diet, right? So in my mind, there is no diet that you should be on other than the one that's customized specifically for you. And again, that's easier said than done because customization takes knowledge, experience, and all these things. And that's the challenge that we're facing. I ask myself often, if someone told me today, How do I get 100 million people to lose weight? So think about it. So how? I can't customize a diet for 100 million people because it takes me hour to hour and a half to customize it for one person. So what would we do? Well, definitely we can take, big picture things, which is, by the way, for our listeners, number one, eat more protein. How much more? 0.7. Okay, let's go into numbers. 0.7 to 1 grams of protein times your body weight in ounces. That's how much you should eat. The more overweight someone is, and let me define that practically, if you're a man over 20% body fat, if you're a woman over 30% body fat, you should have 0.7 times your weight. So let's say a woman weighs 150 pounds, go 0.7 times 150, however many that is, that's how many grams of protein you should have per day. This is the number one thing that you can do that's going to help you lose weight more than anything else. Why? And by the way, weight loss comes down to calories in, calories out. People simply misunderstand that. They don't understand that this equation is dynamic. So what you do with the calorie input directly affects and changes the calorie output, which means when you start eating less, all the 4 components of your calories out part of the equation decrease. That's what confused people who think that calories don't matter. That's where they're confused. They think, I eat this much and this much goes out. I start eating less, this keeps being here. It doesn't. It goes down as well because that's a normal physiological response to eating less. Because if that was true, if we can just eat less and expect this to stay here, what would happen to human race the first time there was famine, so there's no food? We would have been dead. We would starve to death. So and here we are, millions of years, probably the most adaptable species that has ever been. That's why we have survived, because this most certainly changes down with the food. So we know it, right? So calories in, calories out is everything. It's king. Calories are king for weight loss. But within those calories, protein is the number one because it keeps you satiated. So you eat less. It controls your blood sugar level. So you don't have the appetite and hunger spikes up and down, which again, you eat less. And then 3, it actually builds muscle. Protein is the only thing that actually builds muscle. More muscle you have, higher your metabolism is, more calories you burn 24/7. So those are the 3 ways that protein helps you. There's many more, but those are the 3 main reasons that protein helps you lose weight. And how it does that is by getting you to eat less and consume fewer calories, right? And then that can go into very, very deep, many areas that, we haven't even talked about, but that would take another podcast probably. But that's like the big takeaway. The number one thing I could say is just eat more protein, which pretty much almost nobody does. I'm yet to, meet a person who has enough protein intake. And the more protein you eat, probably the less carbs and fats you will eat. So overall calories go down, you will lose weight, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you could pick one book that you would give to somebody, and you already gave us the Psycho-Cybernetics, so I'm going to nix that one. You can't give us that one. What would be the next book?
That's such a hard question. In which area? So let's say area of business, mindset, or health.
Yeah, so Psycho-Cybernetics was mind and
one.
health. So let's go with business.
Business, the best business book. Oof, that is really hard. I would definitely say Dan Kennedy, and it would probably be the summary of his work called Almost Alchemy. And that is actually a recent book. I think it came out just recently, but the book's definitely Dan Kennedy's book. So for example, for marketing, his main, like the first one, the No BS Marketing for Small Business. And then there's many editions of that. That would probably be it. That's the thing that's going to change the most for someone's business. And then probably the second within that category would be the No BS Sales by Dan Kennedy. Because truly as entrepreneurs, we need to know 2 things, which is sales and leadership. And then I would say a part of the sales is marketing, right? So if you can sell, if you can enroll someone in your products, services, whatever, but you don't have anybody to talk to, then it doesn't matter, right? So there has to be marketing. So marketing is before that. So I would say Dan Kennedy is your solution, both in marketing and sales. When it comes to mindset, I would say, let's say mindset would definitely be the Psycho-Cybernetics for self-image. But the self-esteem would be Nathaniel Branden is considered to be the father of self-esteem. He wrote The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, which is kind of like the main book on that. And let's say those two would be the great start. And let's say in the, health, I would honestly say if you can find a summary of human physiology book. So human physiology textbook is usually, 500-700 pages. Honestly, the summary of that, if you can find like a 10-15 page summary, would help people more than probably 100 other books. And actually within the books in the weight loss kind of world, I have one I consider to be useful tip. When you go to Amazon and type in lose weight or weight loss or anything there, every book that's a bestseller, never read that. Those are the books written by marketers, not by coaches, and not by people who actually either know what they're talking about or care that you lose weight or not. So if you look at all these, 15 grams of whatever, let's say lose 37 pounds in 3 days, the newest, like those are completely useless, a waste of time. So if you look at the biggest charlatans in the industry, like Dr. Oz, the bulletproof guy, the Dr. Fung and all these doctors, these are the charlatans that genuinely, like, it pains me to see that people, spend money and time doing that. And here are the overweight people who are fasting and thinking that it's prolonging their life to fast while they're being overweight, right? So just totally makes no sense. But unfortunately, these people are marketers, and they understand that human brain wants new and exciting, new and improved. Don't tell me that I have to figure out my calories. That's so boring. Like calories, come on, man, it can't be calories. It's got to be, you got to put butter in your coffee. You got to put butter on something. Okay, so adding 500 calories of butter into your coffee that did not have calories, so you have extra 500 calories, that's going to help you lose weight. You literally couldn't make this stuff up. If someone told me to come up with the stupidest thing I can come up with, I couldn't come up with something like that. So tell people to eat more butter, and again, nothing wrong with butter, it's cool, but controlling calories is easier if you add 500 calories of butter, just like, what the hell, so, and all these fasting things and keto and everything, it's just, we know that, like I would probably be a multimillionaire by now if I today jumped on a keto, partnered with a company and said, hey guys, went to my audience, hey guys, I was wrong all this time. Keto is awesome. And guess what? I have the keto cookies, the keto sticks, the keto whatever, and sell the, crap out of that. Just like Dr. Oz, sells coffee beans, right? Makes whatever, 30 million a year. They send him to court and say, you lied. He's like, I know I lied. How much do you want? They're like, 3 million. He writes 3 million, takes 27 home every year, right? This is the America's good doctor. This is the person who, people genuinely believe he has their best interest in mind, right? Or the bulletproof person has $100 million company. Good for you. I'm happy that you made it, but what is the impact of that? Like how many people actually, lost weight because they started adding 500, calories of butter to their coffee? Maybe some were helped, and in that case, I fully support it. Awesome. But the problem is none of these people is talking about things that actually work. And this is why people who come to, who either respond to one of my, posts or messages or something, are thinking entrepreneurs who've gone through all this BS for years, tried all of it, tried the fasting, tried the bulletproof, tried the whatever other fad is out there, and said, okay, I realize this is all BS. Let's talk about the thing that actually works. And then I say, okay, let's talk about how to customize your diet where you can have carbs, when you can have fats, when you can eat normally, you don't have to have any restrictions in foods. You can eat like a normal person, however many meals you want to have, you can. So I always say about fasting, what's funny? So let's say if I had to guess, I would say over 1,000 people that I've talked to in the last, let's say 2 to 3 years, who, when we're on the phone, they are fasting. They are on the fasting thing. And I asked them, if I could get you results that you want, but you didn't have to fast, like you can actually eat normally, like a normal person, wake up in the morning, have breakfast, have lunch, would you still fasting? How many of them said yes? What do you think?
0.
Exactly 0. I'm yet to have one person, literally, and this is thousands of people, from an actual coach who does this for a living every single day, talks to real people and gets real people in phenomenal shape. Not one. To this day, I have never had someone who says, man, fasting is so amazing. If I could get the results that I want, I would still be fasting. I've never had one person say that, right? So that tells you pretty much. Again, nothing wrong with fasting. Like if that works for someone logistically, they simply don't feel hungry in the morning. They like to skip the breakfast because it doesn't bother them. Cool. Like I'm not going to say no to that. I'm not going to say, no, you have to have breakfast. You don't. This is the point of customization. I go into someone's system of currently where they're at, eating wise, sleeping wise, exercise wise, and I say, what is the fewest number of changes that we can make to your current system that gives us the results that we want? Because you're the most likely to do that, the fewer changes we have. So if I said, hey, Michelle, well, sucks to be you, my friend, but we're going to overhaul your life completely. We're going to change everything. Like all the habits you've ever had, we're going to break them all and build new. Like, good luck. Nobody's ever going to succeed in that. Instead, if I said, hey, you have 13 habits right now that are leading you directly to outcome that we don't want, we're going to make small little tweaks to 3 of them, meaning we're going to keep your meal frequency, we're going to keep your meal timing, we're going to keep this, and this. We're going to make small tweaks, little tweaks in these 3, and I'm going to show you how to do that seamlessly. And the result is what you want versus what you don't want. Like, what's the higher chance of success from the 2 options, right? So it's just, basically we don't like change, and the easier, it's just the brain always works in the path of least resistance. If your body and brain can accomplish a certain thing by doing 2 steps or by doing 4 steps, it's always going to choose 2. So the easier we can make it, and that's why environment is one of the strongest influences on how much we eat, how much we weigh. Like right now, if I had Snickers bars or something to munch on while we were talking for the last hour, I would have eaten all that, even though I'm not hungry, right? Because it's there. Why not? So
Right.
that's an example of an environment, right? So I always say, I ask my clients, if I came into your house right now and opened the fridge and walked through your house, do you think I could guess what your fat percentage and weight is right now? I probably could.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, all
There
you
you
have to do
go.
is look in the cupboard. How much is
There you go.
processed?
That's right. So when you know that, okay, then go and fix it so that if I go into your house and walk around, I'm going to say, you know what? Healthy, lean, very active, health conscious people live here, right? And that's the number 1 first step that you can do to change it. Because remember, 140, 150 years of human psychology summarized in 2 words: self-discipline fails. Willpower fails. It is true. Everybody who tells you you need to have an iron will and work through it, there's such thing as training that, yes. But if you brought me a pizza and ice cream at 8 p.m. every day, I would be obese 3 months from now. Knowing everything I know, doing what I do doesn't matter. That's how human body works, how human brain works. If someone brought me pizza, like delicious, awesome, like tasty, junk food and some ice cream, I'd eat it and I'd be obese in 3 months or 6 months. So knowing that, someone who's struggling with weight, thinking they're going to iron will their way through, a restrictive diet, that's never going to happen. So make it easy for yourself to win and make it hard for yourself to do the wrong thing, right? That's half, like 80% of the game.
So let's say, I'm an entrepreneur listening to this and I'm like, oh my gosh, Amir totally gets me. He's totally like on my wavelength. How do they contact you?
So the best way, I'm the most active on my personal profile on Facebook. So you can just type Amir Pozderac or Father Fitness, which is my pen name. Or you can visit my website at thealphaentrepreneur.com, all spelled out. So THE Alpha Entrepreneur, so thealphaentrepreneur.com. And also now I'm finally committing publicly again. I am in the process of building my YouTube channel or starting my YouTube channel. It's probably going to be The Alpha Entrepreneur, the channel. So I love camera and I love talking, as you can see, much more so than writing. And even though I write a lot, both in my, all of my social media, mainly Facebook, I love video much more so than writing. So YouTube is just a natural next, extension of our marketing and basically presence, social presence. So very soon, I've promised this a million times and broken the promise, and I'm so ashamed. You can't even, I can't even tell you how much. But simply, I just didn't get to it, unfortunately. So I need to do better planning. But I truly want, before April 1st, definitely to have my channel up and running and have at least 2 videos, or probably just 2 videos every week forever, like never stop. Because there's so much, for everybody out there who's listening to this, who is on social media, and you either get clients or build audiences through social media. One thing that I have learned that has probably cost me a lot of money is when you make a great post on Facebook or Instagram, it lasts a day or 2 and it's gone. When you make a YouTube video and or podcast, it is there forever, collecting views and everything else and leads to your business every single day forever. So in short, again, shoulda, woulda, coulda. If I had spent the last 4 years building my Facebook audience, which I have, and I've actually spent that on YouTube, I would probably be long time ago over 100K a month run rate, just because of this one thing, which is podcast and YouTube last forever. Facebook and Instagram last 2 days. And the sad part is, like, if you ask me right now a certain question about weight loss or building muscle or something, and I tell you, hey, I wrote a really great post about this. It takes me many, many minutes until I go into posts, and because you can't search on Facebook. So it takes me, I can't even find my own posts. How is someone else going to find it? If I had a YouTube channel, I'll just send you the link and say, hey, here it is right here. So that's about to change, hopefully sooner than later. But honestly, podcast and YouTube is where it's at. And of course, that's not even mentioning I can go home right now and Facebook shut down my account, because who knows, right? I mentioned, what to do about the virus, and someone thinks that's offensive and they report it and Facebook shuts you down. Boom, no business, right? Actually, Jay Abraham talks about, don't have a diving board business that depends on one thing. I currently have, unfortunately. My business is very vulnerable because it's based on Facebook only. He says, have a partner, have a business that's based on many, diversify the sources. So if that one source is killed off one day or disappears, you have the other one, you have the third one, you have the fourth one. So, this goes into marketing, but we should totally have a YouTube channel, a podcast, Instagram, Facebook. You should basically have it all. But again, the problem is we don't have time for it all, right? So if I was starting today, I would definitely start with YouTube, no question. Once I have the momentum and leads and businesses at a certain level, so you can automate most of it, go to the next one, podcast. Only then, when you have maximized both of those, which would probably take you several years and would probably build you a multi-million-dollar business, only then go to one of these things that lasts a day or two. So, there's
awesome.
a piece of business suggestion right there that has cost me probably, a lot of money from not doing it, right?
Yeah.
And of course, not helped so many entrepreneurs that I could have helped differently had I done that earlier. So take from that whatever you wish. Yeah.
That is an awesome gold nugget. I mean, we talk about that all the time, digital assets that never go away, right? Do it once and it's out there for people to find forever. So thank you so much for all the knowledge bombs that you dropped. Really, really appreciate this. So one more time, guys, don't forget, you can catch up with Amir on his website at thealphaentrepreneur.com. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Good. Thanks so much for having me. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the Automate to Dominate podcast at www.awesomeoutsourcing.com/podcast. My name is Michelle Thompson.